Peace and bright dawns, dear listeners. Welcome once again to Shanti Harmony, the sacred circle where music, story, and soul cross paths to whisper secrets to our hearts. I'm Shan, your host and companion for today's contemplative walk, and today we dive deep into a song that opens not just the ears, but the inner eye. Our podcast today is titled The Seeker's Prayer, a lyrical journey, no more, a soul's cry for rebirth. You might say, it's a song written by the part of us that has grown weary of its own patterns, a quiet self asking, what must I leave behind to rise? Let's begin with a few lines. What are the weights I must cast aside, the graceless habits where shadows hide? Ah, what a question. Not a question of the mind alone, but of the heart that has known defeat and now seeks dawn. Close your eyes, listener. Imagine this. A woman stands before a mirror, but not the kind you find in a hallway or on your bedroom wall. This one is different. It reflects not her body, but her history. Every decision, every compromise, every fear she held close is etched across its glass. She stands silently, tears in her eyes, seeing not wrinkles or scars, but habits, the kind that have become too familiar, the fear of speaking up, the need to be liked, the constant apology for taking up space. Then something ancient rises in her, a prayer, not whispered to a God out there, but to the divine that quietly lives within her. It sounds like this song. We all carry a sack of invisible stones. Some were handed to us, others we picked up ourselves, mistaking them for gold. This song doesn't just inspire you to throw them down, it asks you to first see them, to know them. And this is why today's episode will feel more like a soul bath. Together, we'll listen to stories not of superheroes, but of seekers. People like you and me. People who got tired of crawling in circles and dared to ask, what if I could fly? What if the only thing stopping you from soaring is you? But here's the mystery, the sacred paradox. Before the flight comes the letting go, and to let go we must first know what we're holding. The lines, tell me of attitudes I must release to find my center, my inner peace, aren't just poetry. They're a map, a mirror, a riddle. We are soul, wearing this body like a cloak, but the cloak is heavy with yesterday's dust. This song reminds us to sweep it clean. Contemplation. Ah, yes. Not the same as meditation. Contemplation is an active dialogue with the divine inside. It's the art of stillness with purpose. You don't empty your mind to silence. You fill your being with a question, a name, or a quality like truth or freedom. Then listen. You chant or sing words like God, peace, love, or even gratitude softly. And from within, the answer rises, not in thunder, but like the first note of a sunrise. This entire song is a contemplative chant, a seeker's song to their higher self. So here's our offering today. We've invited a handful of guests, each with a story, a wound, and a light to share. They will each explore one section of the song. They will speak as if they are speaking to the one part of you that's tired, and the one part of you that's ready. Each voice is a thread, and together we'll weave a tapestry strong enough to wrap around your doubts and burn them into clarity. Let us begin. First, we explore this line from today's song. What are the weights I must cast aside, the graceless habits where shadows hide? This part of the song shines a light on the invisible chains, those subtle, often unnoticed behaviors that keep us small. Think of self-sabotage that arrives masked as humility, or resentment dressed in the costume of self-righteousness. These graceless habits often come alive in our most unguarded moments. The speaker for this part is a voice of grit and awakening. Please welcome Aisha Becky.
Hello, dear travelers of the inner road. My name is Aisha Becky, and today I title my talk, The Shadow Behind the Smile. You see, I lived much of my life being called the nice guy, always agreeable, always saying yes. But let me tell you the truth. It wasn't kindness, it was fear. Fear of rejection, fear of rocking boats. I wore a smile like a shield. One day, during a moment of quiet reflection, I asked myself, why do I feel invisible in my own life? The answer came softly because you gave away your place. The habits that held me down weren't grand. They were small, tiny betrayals. Saying yes when I meant no, laughing at jokes that hurt me, avoiding necessary confrontations. And I realized these were the weights. These were the graceless habits. There was one morning I remember with clarity. My daughter asked me, "Dad, are you okay?" And without thinking, I said, "Of course." But something in her eyes told me she didn't believe me. She saw through the practiced mask. That day, I didn't go to work. I went to a quiet hill outside town and sat. I whispered, "What am I holding?" A voice from within said, "Let go of needing to be good. Just be real." That was the start. And this song, this prayer, reminds me of that moment. Those tiny acts, those fleeting stings, that clip the wings of greater things. Yes, that's it. It's the tiny stings that steal your flight, not the big crashes. I had to learn to disappoint others to finally meet myself. So now I ask you, what's hiding in your smile? What habits pose as love but are rooted in fear? Because once you name them, you can cast them aside.
Thank you, Elijah. That was powerful, especially your honesty around the smiling shield. It reminds us that not all battles wear armor. Some wear politeness. Some smile even as they bleed. Now let us continue. We move to the next soul cry. Tell me of attitudes I must release to find my center, my inner peace. Who we were cannot take us to who we wish to become. The next voice brings us a woman who found peace by letting go, not of things, but of ways of being. Please join me in welcoming Aisha Freeman.
Greetings, beloved companions on this inward road. My name is Aisha Freeman, and I call my story When Peace Asked Me to Let Go. You know, for the longest time, I confused drive with control. I thought I had to micromanage every inch of my life, every outcome, every person around me. I needed things to go my way, in my time, with my flavor of perfection. It made me successful, but it left me hollow. Until one day, my body betrayed me. I had a panic attack in the middle of a boardroom presentation. I remember clutching the table and whispering to myself, "Breathe." I was the composed one, the planner, the fixer. But in that moment, I was just a frightened woman, unraveling in public. That evening, I didn't turn to Netflix. I turned inward. I asked a quiet question, and it felt like the lyrics of this song, "Tell me of attitudes I must release." The answer came not in thunder, but in a breath. Control is not peace. It's fear wearing a crown. I wept. I saw how my need to be right pushed love away, how my demand for outcomes strangled joy. I was living like a clenched fist. No wonder peace couldn't enter. I began small. The next day, I let my assistant decide something. The day after, I let someone cut ahead of me in traffic without exploding inside. But the biggest test came when my son decided to drop out of law school. Every cell in me screamed, "Fix this." But instead I asked, "What do you want?" He said, "To breathe, Mom." And in that moment I knew. He was walking a path I was never brave enough to walk. So I said nothing. I released the need to shape him. And in doing so, I found peace. To find my center, my inner peace. Peace isn't something you capture. It's something that remains when the clutter falls away. We think attitudes are thoughts, but often they're armor, too heavy for the heart to fly. So here's what I learned. You don't lose control to find peace. You lose the illusion of control, and peace finally recognizes you.
Aisha, thank you for showing us that releasing control is not weakness, it's wisdom. You reminded us that love needs room, and sometimes the most sacred thing we can do is get out of the way. Now we move forward to the next soul verse. Guide me to shed what holds me down, the frowns, the doubts, the self-made crown. Ah, the self-made crown. That false self-importance we sometimes wear to hide our insecurities. Up next is someone who had to strip himself of pride and pain alike to finally breathe. Please welcome Marcus Truth Reynolds.
Hey tribe, I'm Marcus Reynolds, though most folks call me Truth. I took that name not because I always told it, but because I had to dig to find it in myself. I call this story the crown I didn't know I was wearing. You see, I grew up fighting. Not just fists. I fought to be seen, to be respected. Life made me wear hardness like cologne. I walked into every room with an invisible crown, the tough guy, the unshakable man. You couldn't touch me, emotionally or otherwise. But that crown, it was heavy, and it was fake. At first, I thought it gave me power. It got me applause, it kept me safe, but it also kept me alone. No one touches a king who's built his throne out of walls. Then one day, I met a woman who didn't fall for the crown. She said something that cracked me. You walk like thunder, but you don't know how to reign. That hit me. Deep. I started losing sleep. I'd sit in the dark asking, what am I protecting? And that's when this part of the song pierced me. Guide me to shed what holds me down. Because the truth, it wasn't the world holding me down. It was me, wearing pride like armor. I couldn't admit when I was wrong, couldn't ask for help, couldn't cry in public, couldn't even love without fear of being soft. That self-made crown, it made me a prisoner. So I started the work. I stood in front of a mirror and said the words, I don't know everything. I need help. I'm scared sometimes, and that's okay. The first time I said that out loud, it felt like glass breaking. The next day, I apologized to my brother after 5 years of silence. I let a friend see me cry, and you know what happened? Nothing fell apart. In fact, everything started to heal. I found that real kings don't wear crowns, they carry light. Let me embrace the eagle's might, to conquer storms and claim my light. See that? The eagle soars because it's not weighed down. So now I walk lighter. I speak slower, and I choose truth over image. To every man listening, especially the ones who won't admit they're listening, you don't have to wear the crown. You're already royalty when you walk in love.
Thank you, Marcus. That line, you walk like thunder, but you don't know how to reign. I think it rained in all our hearts. You've shown us that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a key. And the crown we cling to may be the very thing that blocks our joy. Now we approach the next sacred stanza, the one that invites a complete renewal. I seek to cleanse, to start anew, to stand as a warrior, strong and true. Our next guest is someone who understands what it means to break completely in order to become whole. Let us welcome Serena Vale.
Hi, everyone. I'm Serena Vale, and if I had to name my story, it would be The Day I Threw the Script Away. I lived most of my life like an actress on a stage, smiling when I wanted to scream, agreeing when my heart was aching, applauded by the world, but not known by myself. For years I thought that was strength, holding it all together, being the reliable one, the one everyone leaned on, the one who never cracked. But I wasn't strong. I was trained to suppress, trained to perform, trained to keep peace on the outside while chaos simmered beneath. Then came the day I broke. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a Tuesday morning. I was brushing my teeth and suddenly stopped. I looked at my reflection and said out loud, I don't know who you are. And I began to sob, not because of what I saw, but because of what I didn't. That day, I did something radical. I turned everything off. Phone, laptop, noise. I sat in silence and said what this song so beautifully chants. I seek to cleanse, to start anew. But how does one cleanse the soul? Not by scrubbing, but by shedding. I made a list, not of goals, not of chores, but of truths. Things I needed to stop pretending, people I needed to forgive, including myself, lies I had told to keep love. It was terrifying, and it was holy. To stand as a warrior, strong and true. A warrior, yes, but not the sword kind, not the loud kind. The inner warrior. The one who can sit with their pain without numbing it. The one who can say, I was wrong. The one who can look at an old wound and say, you will no longer define me. Starting anew isn't about moving to another city or getting a new job. It's about cleansing the lens, seeing with eyes that are finally yours. You know, I used to pray for strength like armor. Now I pray for strength like water. Soft, flowing, but unstoppable. This song, this seeker's prayer. It's not just lyrics. It's an invitation to wipe the slate not clean but clear, so the true you can shine through.
Serena, that was radiant. You reminded us that pretending is heavy and truth is light. When we cleanse, we don't lose ourselves, we recover ourselves. And it all begins with a vow to stop performing and start living. And now, dear listeners, we step deeper into the seeker's soul. Into this next line, show me the path, the truth, the way, to bring back meaning to each new day. Sometimes meaning isn't lost. It's buried under routine, grief, and disappointment. The next guest had to dig through silence to find her compass again. Please help me welcome Naomi Speaks.
Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Naomi Speaks, and I want to share with you a story I call How Morning Found Me Again. There was a season in my life where I stopped waking up with joy. I woke up because my alarm told me to, because bills needed paying, because the world expected something from me. But me, I was running on empty. There was no path, just pavement, no truth, just tasks, no way, just wait. And then came one morning, the most ordinary of mornings. It wasn't a holiday, no epiphany, just a tired woman sipping tea by her window, and something cracked inside me. I whispered, what happened to me? I wasn't sad. I was numb. That's scarier than sadness. Sadness means you still feel, but numbness, it's like your soul wrapped itself in bubble wrap and disappeared quietly. That morning I didn't get dressed for work. I sat still. I let the numbness speak. It said, you've stopped asking why. You've stopped dreaming. You stopped seeking. And so I began again, slowly. I lit a candle, not to meditate, but to contemplate. I sang the word peace until I felt something stir, a tiny flicker, the whisper of divine love. The lyrics say, show me the path, the truth, the way. But you know what I discovered? The path doesn't always appear ahead. Sometimes it appears within, one quiet insight at a time, one choice to be honest, one act of kindness with no audience. I started writing again, cooking with music on, talking to strangers with sincerity, saying thank you more, and most importantly, saying no to what no longer served me. Every day became a tiny altar, a blank page, a chance to say, today I remember why I'm here. Meaning didn't fall from the sky, it rose from within when I dared to seek it. This song isn't just asking for direction, it's asking for reconnection with the divine, with joy, with life. And I found that when you ask sincerely for truth, truth doesn't shout. It shows up as a sunrise.
Naomi, thank you. You gave voice to something so many feel but cannot name, the dull ache of a life on autopilot. But your story also offers hope, that the path home doesn't require a map, just a moment of stillness and a sincere question. And with that, I welcome you, beautiful souls, to our Seeker's Circle, the place where questions open the gate to transformation. In this segment, we dive deeper. Each of our speakers returns, not to retell, but to reflect. I'll pose one question per guest, drawn from the strong point they addressed in the song. Each answer is a guiding light for those still walking through their personal fog. Let's begin. Elijah, you spoke of the subtle habits that hinder greatness. What practical signs can a person look for to recognize they are carrying hidden weights?
Ah, Shan, that's a sacred question. You know you're carrying hidden weights when your reactions are bigger than the moment. When someone gives you feedback and you explode or shrink. When peace feels suspicious, like it's too quiet, or when you over-apologize for your existence. Another sign? Constant tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. Not the body kind, but soul exhaustion. That's when you know you're dragging something that isn't yours, or was never meant to be held forever. Also, listen to how you speak to yourself when no one's around. If your self-talk is harsh, you're still dancing with inner judgment. That's a weight. And until you drop it, your wings stay clipped.
Thank you for that, Elijah. Now, Aisha, what does it actually feel like on the inside when someone begins to let go of controlling everything?
Oh, Shan, it feels like fear at first, like you're falling without a parachute. But stay with it, because beneath that fear is relief. It's like releasing your grip on a rope that's been burning your hands. There's a quiet exhale that your spirit makes. Your mind becomes less crowded. Decisions aren't frantic. You start noticing small joys, a breeze, a color, a smile, and you realize peace was always there, just waiting for control to take a break.
Right, Marcus. In a world that rewards image, how do you find courage to drop the self-made crown and just be you?
It's simple but hard, Shan. You get tired. That's where the courage starts. Not from bravery, but from exhaustion. When pretending becomes heavier than rejection, you drop the crown. And also, trust builds courage. I surrounded myself with 1 or 2 people who saw me beneath the mask. That was enough. We don't need a crowd to be real. We need one safe mirror. Find that, and you'll have the courage to take off anything false.
Now over to you, Serena. What does it mean to you now, today, to start anew?
Starting anew isn't about big dramatic changes. It's about choosing truth over comfort in small, daily ways. It's saying, I'm done hiding, not to the world, but to yourself. For me, it meant crying when I needed to, turning down roles I used to accept just to be liked. It's choosing what's honest over what's expected. And sometimes starting anew means returning, not changing, but returning to the version of you that existed before fear told you who to be. Austin, when pretending becomes heavier than rejection, you drop the crown. And also, trust builds courage. I surrounded myself with 1 or 2 people who saw me beneath the mask. That was enough. We don't need a crowd to be real. We need one safe mirror. Find that and you'll have the courage to take off anything false.
Naomi, how can someone who's numb begin the search for meaning again?
First, acknowledge the numbness without judgment. That alone is powerful. Then do something small and sacred each day. Light a candle, hum a word like gratitude or peace, or watch the sky with intention. Start asking gentle questions like, what made me feel alive once? Or what am I pretending not to want? And then sit with that question, not to force answers, but to invite meaning back in like an old friend.
What a blessing. What a banquet of insight. Each guest returned not just with answers, but with keys. The kind that don't open doors, but open you. Beloved listeners, we've journeyed through insight, poetry, and pain. But here's the beautiful truth. Even the most sacred realization means little if it doesn't shape how we live. So now we ask, how do we live this prayer in our homes, our offices, our morning routines, and our relationships? I've invited 4 of our guests back to offer practical steps you can apply starting today. Elijah.
Thank you, Shan. The first step to letting go of hidden weights is radical noticing. Every night before sleep, ask yourself, what did I do today that drained me? Then write it down. No filter, no judgment. This builds awareness of habits that don't serve you. Second, build micro moments of honesty. Say no when you mean it, even if it's uncomfortable. Tell a friend, actually, I'm not okay today. These small truths become large freedoms. And finally, create silence, even if for 5 minutes. In that silence, chant a word like peace or love. Let the inner voice rise. The weights you carry will reveal themselves there. I will hand over now to Aisha.
Ah, dear hearts, if control has been your comfort blanket, here's what helped me. Start your day with surrender, not strategy. When you open your eyes, whisper, show me what to trust today. Choose one thing a day to let go of. Let someone else choose the restaurant. Let your child mess up the bed. Let life flow a little. Lastly, create a practice I call the surrender snapshot. At night, recall a moment where you didn't control and nothing fell apart. That's proof. Collect those. They build faith muscle. Serena?
Yes, starting anew can begin in 3 breaths. First breath. Close your eyes and say, what is no longer true for me? Let that question echo. You may cry. That's good. That's cleansing. Second breath. Choose a tiny radical act of honesty. Maybe it's telling your partner you feel disconnected. Maybe it's walking away from gossip. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just make it real. Third breath, set a morning ritual. For me, it's lighting a candle and whispering, I am born again into truth. That sets your day on holy rails. Naomi, you up.
Thank you, Serena, meaning doesn't shout, it whispers. So to hear it, we must turn down the noise. Here's what helps. Digital Sabbath, 1 day a week, go phone free for a few hours. Walk, sit, breathe, ask, what wants to speak to me today? Create a meaning jar. Each time you feel something sacred, a sunset, laughter, clarity, write it on a slip of paper and drop it in. When you feel lost, read those moments. They remind you that your life is speaking. Finally, sing your word. Choose a word you wish to invite. Love, freedom, joy. Chant it softly each morning. That vibration sets your soul's compass.
There you have it, family. These aren't just suggestions. They are seeds. Plant them in your days. Water them with honesty. Let them grow into a life you no longer need to escape from. Here we are, dear ones. The fire has dimmed, the stories have softened, but the echoes, they live on. We've walked through the Seeker's Prayer not just as a song, but as a mirror, each line reflecting back a truth we may have forgotten or a possibility we dared not claim. Let us reflect now on the lyrics of today's song. There's a tenderness in these words that doesn't demand understanding. It simply invites surrender. Surrender not in weakness, but in reverence. To live in a way where your entire being, your breath, your choices, your silence, sings back to the source that whispered you into this life. This song is more than melody. It is a vow, a quiet pact with the divine inside you. You may play it as you rise in the morning or whisper it as you fall asleep. You may chant a single word, love, peace, freedom, and let that sound shape your day. This is contemplation, a sacred conversation with your own spirit, where you ask and life answers from within. So I invite you, play the full song today, not in the background, not while scrolling, but play it as a prayer. Let it stir something long sleeping. Let it remind you of the sacred vow your soul once made to become. And once it moves you, share it. Share it with a friend who feels stuck. Share it with someone who's seeking, because this is the Seeker's Prayer. The link to the full song is in the description below, and if this episode stirred you, made you feel seen, or simply made you pause, pass it on. That's how light spreads, in whispers, not shouts. Until next time, keep walking your true path. This is Shan, your host at Shanti Harmony, saying, you are soul, eternal and whole. Strip off the dust, reclaim your light, and let every breath you take be the next line in your own sacred poem.